It is 6:30. I call to order the Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 meeting of the Lewisville City Planning and Zoning Commission. First order of business, there is a quorum present. The second order of business is consider the minutes of the February 4th regular meeting. Commissioners, questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Francesca, second by Jack. You may vote now. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have two regular hearings. The first, consideration of two alternate standards associated with outdoor storage standards and screening standards for Walmart on 18.613 acres located at 801 West Main Street, legally described as Valley Ridge Business Park West Addition, lots 3, R1-A, Block C, Zone General Business, as requested by Ian Bright of Wing LLC on behalf of the owners, Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, 24-11-15 ALT STD.
Good evening, Commissioners. Wing is a commercial drone delivery service that has partnered with Walmart to provide last mile delivery for Walmart's goods and services. They have had their site at the Walmart off of Main Street for over a year now with their, sorry, the thing is ringing a bit more louder, but so they've currently have an existing site working with Walmart on the Walmart off of Main Street. Those alternative standards were for a year, set to expire because the original intent was that staff would put together a drone ordinance that would go before the commission and city council before then. We're still working on that ordinance. And so in the meantime, while we finish those up, we requested that Wing reapply for their alternative standards. They're requesting the same that they did the last time, which both were granted, to allow outside storage to be located in front of the principal building and to use black galvanized metal panel steel fence in lieu of the required masonry wall or tubular steel fence. Some additional context. So the drafted ordinance that will eventually go in front of you and City Council would make it so that, so currently it's being considered as outside storage, but with the drafted ordinance, landing pads and docking stations would not be considered outside storage, so they would not require screening. And so we find that, and additionally with drones, they're very unique to any of our other uses, and based off the way that they operate and their flight, they do need I guess, transparent fence so that the drones are able to safely land and take off. As far as the location in front of the principal building, it's a similar situation where the nature of the drone service requires that it's placed in a way to ensure safe flight and return. So the staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval for the alternative standards as listed. I'm here for any additional questions that you guys may have, as is the applicant, and they have a short presentation that they can show to help illustrate a little bit more about their operations to those who aren't familiar.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions? Or would you like to see the presentation first?
Presentation.
Presentation, please.
evening. Should I state my address? Josh, what's that? Oh, yes. Josh Bucci, I'm with Wing Aviation. Address is 2999 Olympus Boulevard, and that's Irving 75019. So I'll go through this presentation pretty quickly. This is often one we'll give to new cities, but we've been operating in Lewisville for a while here, so if I can figure out how to, there you go. Thank you. All right, so Wings operations, again, hopefully you guys have had some exposure to this, but partnered with Walmart in the area to provide delivery services via drone. And so we're setting up nests throughout the DFW area right now and kind of expanding from there. But this is an example of one of our nests look like. Very simple, designed to be very kind of light in terms of how we set things up so that we can get in there quickly and provide these services to the communities that we're providing them to. So what our operations are like. We partner with Walmart, like I said, to provide last mile delivery, hopefully providing speed, reliability, sustainability, and cost effectiveness. So we're at 19 locations right now across DFW. Lewisville, you can see at the top of the list there. A good city that we're happy to be partnered with, as well as Arlington, Denton, Frisco, Fort Worth. And basically how it works is we work with Walmart. Customers can order items from Walmart and they're delivered within 30 minutes via drone to their house. Some of the benefits of drone delivery, safer. We all know that, I'm sure you've heard the cliche, driving your car home at night is one of the most dangerous things you do. So safer than driving, cleaner than more miles being used with vehicles to provide these services. Faster, like I said. Most deliveries arrive under 10 minutes, but we usually say 30 minutes to be safe, but the numbers show typically under 10 minutes delivery time. Cheaper, it can be really economically viable, reducing congestion, obviously bringing jobs to the area, both Lewisville and then DFW as a whole, and then providing greater access. Things we've talked to other cities about, senior citizens who can't leave their home, people who maybe have disabilities, allows them to be able to get things that they need quickly without having to get in the car. All right, let's see what else I have here. This is a video, not sure that it would play very well, but that's a picture of our drone. You can go to wing.com if you want to see a video of kind of how it works, how it flies. It's really interesting. But in terms of the process, people in the area can go into our app, check their address to see if it's available. I believe right now we are kind of 3 miles outside of the Walmart location. So a total round trip of about 6 miles. But people can go in our app to verify their address. They can select from the Walmart catalog and then track their package as it's delivered to their house. Just a little bit about our drones. We get a lot of questions about the drones. That's the exciting part. We really prioritize safety in our drones. They only weigh about 12 pounds, almost completely made of styrofoam. We can carry just under 3 pounds right now. We've delivered over 400,000 deliveries safely as we've operated as a company. The drones fly about 60 miles an hour, and like I said, about 6 miles round trip for deliveries. All of our planes, our whole process is regulated by the FAA, so we go through a lot. I can't understate that. The amount of time we spend with the FAA going through approvals, making sure they're bought into what we're doing, and really writing the new laws to dictate drones and how they can be used and safe practices. Our flight operations center is just down the road here in Coppell. Just came from there. Our pilots sit and observe the drones and make sure everything's going safely. We like to foster community. We're really about providing this service to the community and getting people engaged. So we like to host local community events. If there's anything out of this meeting that you guys think would be helpful for us to be at to help raise awareness or get the community more involved, we're happy to always participate in those things. So just a look at our site here. Like was mentioned, the site has been existing for about a year. Pretty typical site for us. A very simple fence in a Walmart parking lot. These sites are set up to service up to 18 drones. Very simple. They are operating off of generator power right now. That's something we'll talk about in a second. The other thing is in this picture, we show what we call a kiosk. I believe out there right now is a storage container. One change that we are, here's just a couple additional photos of what our sites look like. One change that we're proposing as part of this approval is to update the existing storage container to be a little bit more in line with the district and the visual standards of the district. So going to something that has a stone veneer, working with the planning department to get those things approved. Just again to update it to be more in line with the visual standards. And the other thing we're working on is permanent power. That's a process that Walmart is kind of working through right now. There should be, I don't have an exact time frame for that, but definitely before the ordinance comes out, and working towards that as we speak. Yeah, so that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions, or if you have questions for planning department as well.
Commissioners? Questions?
No questions.
And you said it was wing.com?
Wing.com, yep.
Okay, and it's currently being operated and used?
Yep. Yeah, if you have an address that's within that 3 miles, and obviously there's other things that come into play. You know, if you're next to a hospital, sometimes there's issues with helicopters. We need, again, prioritizing safety. We won't fly when that helicopter's flying. But yeah, you can go to wing.com and see if your address is eligible.
Okay.
A question of staff. By the placement of this, do we run the risk of inadvertently creating a precedent for other activities that would require the same?
Yeah, so we have one other drone operator at a different Walmart in Lewisville. We did approve alternative standards, these same alternative standards, a little over a year ago. It was a temporary in nature. It was for 1 year. We have been working on getting ordinances, and as drafted, they would actually comply with all those ordinances. We just need to get those before you. There's a little bit of scope creep on that project, and so it expanded to the entirety of the supplemental standards and getting those updated. But we do hope to have those before you, and maybe not the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after that.
In terms of when we originally had this discussion, the operation of the parking lot was a question. In terms of the traffic flows, has any observation or study been made of how well the parking lot has operated with the operation of the drones?
We haven't conducted any studies. I have been over there several times as I visit that Walmart on a regular basis. I have not noticed it impacting or causing any issues. There's certainly more than adequate parking at the Walmart, and none of the drive aisles are blocked by the location or the operations.
Yeah, I'm at that location weekly, and you barely even notice it. It hasn't impeded anything.
With the, last question, this is an emerging technology, and we've seen two technologies represented before the commission. Are we tipping a competitive edge with this type of decision-making for one operation over another?
No, I don't believe so. And we've actually, in our drafted ordinance, we spoke with Wing as well as other drone operators to make sure that it would work equally well for all of them. So when we bring that forward, we'll talk to you a bit about that and the terminology that we used. And in that draft ordinance, we talk about if they're placing their landing area on the ground, on the building, on the pole, on the side of the building, because different places mount it in different ways. So we've addressed those different scenarios in that drafted ordinance. That we hope to bring forward soon. So I don't think that this necessarily gives anybody a competitive advantage because we have already also approved alternative standards for the other operator at the other Walmart.
Very good, thank you.
Other questions?
None.
Comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend approval of the two alternative standards as presented.
Second.
Motion by Aram, second by Francesca. You may vote now. Motion carries 5-0.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council on Monday, March the 3rd, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next item of business, consideration of 5 alternative standards related to parking, pedestrian circulation, architecture, and screening standards of the Interstate Highway 35 East Corridor Overlay District on .1793 acre tract of land out of the J. Sutton Survey, abstract number 1155, and the E. Pickett Survey, abstract number 1014, located on the north corner of Interstate Highway East Frontage Road and Fox Avenue, as requested by Emily Zollner, PE of Manhart Consulting, on behalf of Runtime Centers 1 LLC, the property owner. Case number 24-09-14, alt standards.
Good evening, Commissioners. Apologize why I fumble with this. Oh. I'm not sure. Oh, come on. All right, we're all good. Thanks for your patience. Runtime Center is a business that specializes in quick-serve restaurants that focus on food delivery. They're looking to operate off of a parcel land that's on the north corner of Fox and the I-35 frontage road. This parcel land has been subject to many right-of-way acquisitions over the years for the expansion of the I-35 highway and has created a very unique shape that's difficult to develop. They are requesting 5 alternative standards to the I-35 overlay, and I will go over each of these. The first one is to allow 24 parking spaces in lieu of the required 42. So in the I-35 overlay, and this is in the transition sub-district, restaurants are required to be parked at 1 space for every 100 square feet. Now, the intent of this parking standard is because that's anticipating customers coming into the restaurants. None of these 3 buildings will allow any customers or any access from the public. They are all kitchens with just drive-through access for the intended food delivery platforms. Staff has no objection to this. They are still providing parking on site, and due to the unique nature of this, we don't see this redeveloping in a way that would then need that additional parking in the future. The second alternate standard is to reduce the landscape buffer from 20 feet to 5 feet along the I-35 frontage road. So the I-35 overlay requires 20 feet with a tree every 50 feet, I believe. They are requesting this to be reduced to 5 feet, which will allow comfortable room for shade trees. And this is still from the curb to the curb of the frontage road to the curb of this development. It'll still be over 30 feet. So anybody driving by will still look like a healthy landscape buffer. It's just the property line is only 5 feet from the landscaping. Now, we did find plans for a full build-out of I-35, which would reduce this to 17 feet, which is 3 feet less than that requirement. These plans can change. They are not funded. This is not anything in the current highway widening. It's just letting you know that in the future, this could be reduced further in another I-35 expansion. All right, the third alternative standard is to waive the secondary walkway requirement. In the transition subdistrict, we essentially require a 12-foot walkway between all entrances. The intent of this is when you have a lot of businesses next together, you want to make sure people can walk between them, so you're not forced to get back into your car and just have a healthy pedestrian experience. Again, because this is not open to the public, there will not be any pedestrian access to this. Staff has no objection to this. I do want to note that they are meeting all ADA requirements for this site. Alrighty, the fourth alternative standard is to allow a live screening in lieu of the masonry wall requirement on the southern boundary. Northern boundary. Directly north of this site is all single-family residential. There is also a 6-inch sanitary sewer line right next to the property boundary here. Now, these 6-inch sewer lines have a 20-foot buffer, and our public services does not allow any masonry walls to be in these buffers. If they need maintenance, they need the 20 feet and able to dig down into the pipe and to do maintenance. So to meet this standard, they'd have to move the wall 20 feet from that property line, which would create essentially a 20-foot no man's land between this and the residential property. This would limit the site even more than it is currently with this geometry. And they are proposing to do live screening, which our public services does allow live screening in these easements. All of these residential lots have wood fences. That plus the live screening will provide screening as well. And then the last alternative standard is to reduce the glass building material along the I-35 frontage from 40 to 0%. So in the I-35 overlay, we want a lot of the buildings to have a lot of storefronts, just to have a lot of glass frontages, and we take particular mind of the architectural standards. Because these are all kitchens, they're limited to how much windows they can have. So in the side elevations, they do not have the glass just to the requirements of a commercial kitchen. They are providing additional architectural requirements here. Staff doesn't have any objection to this. Finally, they did request an alternative standard for the dumpster location. We require the dumpster to be located basically not in front of any public rights-of-way. That's pretty much not possible to be met on this site. But this can be approved by the Director of Neighborhood Services. But I wanted to mention it since they had requested that in a letter. I wanted to note that each of these alternative standards ultimately will need City Council approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Jonathan, has the site been analyzed for the type of queue that those driveways can take? And I guess my question is coming from, is it going to be a blend of delivery or delivery and pickup?
So from my understanding, and I'll let the applicant tell you that, I'll speak to the queue. So we do not have any requirements for queuing for any quick serve, but they are allowing 3 or 4 car lengths just along the building for queuing there. So, but I will let the applicant, if you have any other questions for me, can kind of answer to what their intended customers are.
We're good.
Thank you.
You have questions of the applicant? Becca, if you'll introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm Becca Deacon with Manhart Consulting. Address is 8144 Walnut Hill Lane in Dallas, 75231. Jonathan did a great job, I think, presenting the intent of this project. I think the hardest thing to grasp is this is not a conventional drive-through restaurant. It's not like a Chick-fil-A where you can go in, park, have your kids play on the playground. It's very much intended for a quick pickup. As far as queuing goes, it's kind of hard to tell from the screen, but on the south side of each building, there will be an order board with almost a gate arm. So the customer would place the order on the app or online, go up to the order board, scan it. If their order's not ready yet, then the gate arm wouldn't open. So that's the intent of that exit lane and the circulation around, so they're able to go find parking or continue to circle until their order is ready. So that's how they're mitigating that traffic flow situation and avoiding queues sticking out, or the intent is for the queue to be inside between those two buildings versus outside around the site.
So if I understand correctly, it's not something that someone would walk up and place the order there. They're going to order from the app.
Correct, yes. So
Now-
there's no, back and forth with the customer. It's all done electronically.
Okay. So, and in the beginning, it seems like you will have people who will want to walk up until they understand the process. How will you prevent that from happening, or keep that at bay as it is?
Yeah, so definitely I think the parking will encourage it. There's not going to be, a typical order window, even at the front of the buildings. There's not going to be, at the sliding glass door where they can walk up and place an order. There will be plenty of signage that indicates what the process will be, but there won't be any sort of indication that you could go up and order.
Yeah, because you're close to a school, which changes everything.
Yeah. No,
It's an interesting concept. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, questions?
Yeah, what attracted you all to this site?
That's an excellent question. I think the unique shape of it, so because our buildings are a little bit smaller, it is technically one building, but 3 structures with a roof over it. So it is a very tight site, which is the request for most of the alternative standards, as John noted. I think the developer wanted a really clean concept, just to try this out, just to see, because not a lot can fit on this. You can't really put a big rectangular building. Parking was a really big constraint, so that's another reason why this site could potentially work. There's very few uses you could get on this shaped site and where it is based on the zoning, where you could get appropriate amounts of parking. So this kind of helped mitigate that, with the intent being not very many people will park. They'll hopefully just pull in, get their order, and then be able to leave.
I'm visualizing like a Sonic type concept without the menu boards where you pull in an order. I mean, is it when you see 3 rectangular buildings like this, or correct me if I'm wrong?
This down here is kind of the front of it. So the back of the building will have, this is the north building.
Just drive through,
Correct, yeah.
Is there a place where this concept works?
This is the first iteration of it, so this is the first development that would be constructed in Lewisville, yes.
Any other cities, states where y'all have tried this out?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
Question, and perhaps you might have an answer as staff. With the rework of 35E, will the Fox Avenue interchange keep that less than standard cloverleaf design? Or is it going to be modified? And could that have an impact to this?
Yes, the ultimate schematic design for Fox Avenue basically keeps the geometries as they are. That bridge will ultimately have to be rebuilt because the spans are not long enough. But again, that is a future phase that has not yet been funded.
Jack, if you pull up the staff memo, it does have the ultimate build out of I-35 was included in the second page of the staff memo.
Is that the colored?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I was trying to interpret.
Excellent. Questions, comments anymore?
Did we get any of the residents to object on this?
No, this is not a public hearing.
Oh,
So
okay.
no notices were sent out for this. It does not require an SUP. We just consider this a restaurant. Quick
Okay.
serve doesn't require, quick serve restaurants don't require any additional zoning action in Lewisville.
No more questions or comments? I will.
Just one more.
Go ahead, please, go ahead.
Are there any other lighting considerations that I haven't noticed yet?
Lighting, you said?
You get lighting, like, obviously, there's not a lot of parking,
Mm-hmm.
but will the drive-through have a lot of lighting that might be of a concern to neighbors?
I think internally, so between the buildings, yes, and more so on the back side, since that's where people will be coming in and that's where they'll be directed. I don't anticipate a lot of lighting requirements up by that screening wall or by that live screening wall, and I think that the trees would also help shield that.
I can help answer this. In the full civil review process, we do require photometric plans. We do have requirements for no more than 0.2 candles of light going into residential areas. So they are meeting that. That's something we do review during that process, and the live screening will certainly help with that. But we do make sure that those standards are upheld during the civil review process.
Thank you. That's all.
I'll consider a motion.
I kind of am against it. I don't like it, and I'm not sure why, but.
Is there any,
There's some concerns about the neighbors, the lighting, the parking, the area, there's just, I know that it's being recommended, but me personally, I
have a Richard question. So this doesn't, or Jonathan question, this doesn't require an SUP or anything like that?
Correct. The use is a permitted use in
Not to
the
put
existing zone.
anything negative out in the universe, but let's just say this concept doesn't work as intended and this folds, and then we're left with these three buildings on this very odd lot. Just what could be another use then? Like another restaurant would have to come in, or another intended use then would have to go through?
Yeah, any of our permitted uses in the zoning district, and this is zoned, give me 1 second, general business district, so it has a pretty broad.
So it has a pretty broad scope.
Could be professional office, could be another type of food service, maybe, the small coffee drive-throughs.
Does the staff see that this developed lot, because it is just where it's, I guess what's kind of getting to me is it's such a precarious position, and like what else is going to go there? I mean, I drive by there a million times.
Right, the size and
I know it's empty and I want to see something there, but
the size and geometry kind of.
That something else could work.
Yeah, there's a number of uses that could work here, but they would often be smaller scale because of the small scale of the site and the geometry. I think one of the things is that is appealing for business at this site is just its visibility at the intersection. And I think once the Main Street Bridge is complete, there'll be a U-turn lane. So that will allow fairly easy traffic movements for traffic that needs to go south on 35E or west on Fox Avenue, or really either direction on Fox Avenue, since the only access drive is on the frontage road.
Okay. Interesting concept for sure.
Mm-hmm. Very. Commissioners?
Anybody else have any qualms, concerns?
No, I think the site itself is presented with several challenges, but this does appear to be well thought out for the size. For the size and the location and the fact that we're growing, it meets, the 2025 vision of trying to bring in more businesses, especially in that particular area. And we know we're going to have some highway expansion and construction there, so it's in an ideal location for me.
Mm-hmm. Good thoughts. Thank you.
I'll present a
Consider a
motion. Yeah, I'll present a motion to recommend approval of the alternative standards as presented.
Motion by Joshua. Second by Jack. You may vote now. Motion carries 4-1.
Commissioners,
Thank you.
this item will be considered by the City Council for a final decision on Monday, March the 3rd, 2025 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. The final item on our agenda this evening is a public hearing, consideration of a special use permit for commercial amusement outdoor on an approximately 1.1 acre tract out of the H.H. Smith Survey, abstract number 1576, located on the south side of East Vista Ridge Mall Drive, approximately 200 feet west of Highview Lane, zoned light industrial district, as requested by Matthew Thomas of Thomas Site Development Engineering, Incorporated, on behalf of Harris Reddy of Feather Smash LLC, the property owner. Case number 23-5-8 SUP.
Commissioners, I want to give you a quick history of Feather Smash. Feather Smash is an indoor badminton facility that is directly east of the subject site we were speaking of tonight. In December of 2019, City Council approved an interlocal agreement with the City of Capel because this site resides in both the City of Lewisville and the City of Capel to facilitate the development of this site. The applicant has come forward and wants to build outdoor pickleball courts in the lot that is east of the Feather Smash site. But both the pickleball courts and the indoor badminton facility will operate as one site, though they will be on separate lots. There will be shared parking agreement, and for all intents and purposes, they will function as one site. In February 3rd of this year, our City Council and the City of Capel approved another interlocal agreement because it was not possible to serve this site sewer from the City of Lewisville. So they are having to take the sewer expanding from the original site up north to this, and that was the requirement of that interlocal agreement. Now they're requesting a special use permit, as we require special use permits for any outdoor amusement, which we would consider an outdoor pickleball court. So the site will feature 12 pickleball courts and a small clubhouse. It will have some parking that is bounding both sites, and when we go through the civil review process, we will make sure that there's a shared parking agreement that is filed with the county for this location. The site is sunk. It's, I believe, 3 feet down from its current elevation just to make it work. So it will be lower than what it is today. And there is screening along the side, along the rear side as well. Here's a quick what the combined site will look like with both this and the existing Feather Smash location. The applicant, as with this SUP, they are providing additional landscaping than what is required in our ordinance. One thing I want to note is that they're having additional landscaping along the Vista Ridge Mall Drive and a large grouping of landscaping on the southeast corner on this location. Initially, when they came forward to staff about developing this site, there's a batch plant directly south, and we did have concerns with air quality, as batch plants can have particular materials, and there was concern with people breathing heavily right next to that. The applicant did provide an air quality report, and that was done by, completed by Whitehead Environmental Services, and then they found no evidence of environmental risk from the site when they did the readings here. So that was one of the requirements we had for support of the SUP, is to make sure that there was this. I want to go back real quick with the clubhouse. We asked for 80% masonry materials in there, and they did exceed that by providing more than 50% brick or stone for the small clubhouse on this location. There was also noise concerns with this. both Lewisville residents and the Capel residents to the south. So I wanted to note that typically a pickleball, the noise of pickleball is around 85 decibels. So the noise report, which I provided, you all should have a copy of that since that was not provided with the packet. They provided studies with 80, 90, 100, and 110 decibels and how that would impact the neighboring residential developments. Is to note that within the 80 and 90, which would be the subject of pickleballs being swapped at this location, is really what we're looking at for these locations, which don't show any large concerns with sound. A big reason for that is the Capel neighborhood is over 500 feet away from this, and there's multiple buildings screening it. And I also wanted to note that this study was not completed with the screening or landscaping was not considered when that noise study was completed. So it will be even less than what is shown in that report. And then I brought the landscaping again so we could see that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the special use permit. The applicant is here as well.
Couple of questions on the air quality findings. The organic compounds, if I'm reading it correctly, I think I understood that. Was there anything studied on the particulates?
I will have to read back through it. I do not recall off the top of my mind if there, what in particular was there. It was a fairly extensive report. I think it was over 70 pages.
How long is that batch plant operated?
I actually was looking at historical aerials today, and it opened sometime in the very early 80s, I believe.
Typically, at least in my experience, those have a lifespan for the construction, whether they have the materials near them or there's a demand for that material. Is that still, is there a future for that batch plant that we're aware of?
Not that we're aware of. The batch plant itself is located in Capel. I'm not sure if they're aware of anything, but I'm not aware of anything.
As for the site plan, it's a fairly long facility to get from one court to the furthest court. Is there any cart paths or anything like that? I just didn't see it on the.
No, I believe the intent is mostly for pedestrian access from this side, and a lot of the parking is supplemented from the existing Feather Smash site.
Pickleball courts are fairly small compared to like tennis courts. The whole property is about 450 feet long, so it's not a terribly long distance.
They just built the warm-up into getting to the court.
Exactly. Thank you.
I have questions for the applicant.
I do too.
Thank you.
And maybe the same questions. Please introduce yourself to us, your name and your address.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Matthew Thomas. I'm the civil engineer at Thomas Site Development Engineering, and I'm at 2507 Heather Glen Court, Colleyville, 76034. I'm here to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you. My question is, your normal operating hours are 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., as I
Yes.
understand, and I understand why that goes on also. But will you change and have different operating hours for your outside courts than your inside activities?
We were planning to keep it the same,
Okay,
8 a.m. to 11 p.m.
because that sound of the pickleball ball at 5 a.m. might not be quite as entertaining as, but that's, so you do plan to keep it the same?
Yes.
But now, I also understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, your present building stands in the way between the courts and the housing development. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I
to
am
the
correct
east,
on that.
yes.
Thank you.
Will you still offer pickleball indoors as well, or is all pickleball moving to the outdoor courts only?
That will be driven by the market conditions, but if there's more demand, we could have it indoor also.
Because I currently
Actually,
come there for pickleball indoors.
yeah, so the thing is, ideally, the developer would have liked to build a building on this and have all indoor courts, but the site just does not support a building.
Yeah.
And then we tried very hard to get access of that, the other street on the west, I don't even know the name on that street anymore, but it's nobody knows who it belongs to, that little easement, and we did all kinds of research, and we couldn't come up with a valid ownership, so we couldn't even apply for a driveway permit, because initially we were planning to put a few parking spaces on that side to split the entrance, but didn't work out that way.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? If there are no more questions, I will open the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak may come forward, but first of all, I need to read something into the record. I have a letter here from the City of Coppell, and it's addressed to Richard. I hope all is well with you. The City of Coppell has received concerns from Coppell Greens, a homeowners association, relating to the potential noise generated from the proposed outdoor pickleball courts. This subdivision is located to the east of the proposal. We would ask that these be taken into consideration with acting on the proposal before the Planning and Zoning Commission this evening. And this is signed by Matthew Steer, who is Development Service Administrator for the City of Coppell. Now, sir, if you'd like to come forward, state your name and address, please.
My name is Philip LeBurge. I'm the Vice President of the Coppell Greens HOA. My address is 858 Dalmalley Lane in Coppell Greens. Thanks for letting me talk to you tonight. When Harish and Vistara Sports first contacted me, as I think most people in an HOA were very concerned about an outdoor pickleball court being located anywhere near our subdivision. And I did bring it up with the Coppell Engineering Department, and they informed me that there was one request for a pickleball court that they declined in Coppell. But I was forwarded the plans, and then I was also forwarded the noise attenuation study, which I reviewed. And there were some things that really concerned me. The gentleman that was just up here did say that sound is being blocked by their existing building, which is sort of partially true. Some of the sound is also being blocked by the maintenance building that's on the Martin Marietta concrete plant. My concern was with regard to your question about when the plant was built and if there's a term that the plant might eventually expire and the land is sold, and then the new developer knocks it all down, there would be a clear path between the courts and the south side of Laird's, which is the street that runs north-south parallel to their property. That really concerned me, but I was just forwarded the plan by the owner, and the landscape plan shows a stone. It shows on the plan something that looks like a stone wall, and I asked him what exactly was it, because they didn't provide a section through that, and he replied that there's going to be a 3-foot to 4-foot stone wall with an 8-foot fence on top of it. And then I was told that that fence is actually going to be a wood fence. So I think if there is there's a wall with an 8-foot wood fence on top of it, that's going to create a sound barrier along the south side of the courts, and that will really block any sound that's coming into Copell Greens. He also said that because of the grade elevation, the grade of the pickleball courts is going to be about 3 feet below where the wall is, and the wall is going to, there's going to be an 8-foot fence on top of that. So I guess my only real concern at this point is just want to make sure that sound doesn't come through the wood fence, and that it's like a board-on-board wood fence that's more solid than just a board-by-board fence, and the sound could penetrate it. Other than that, I really don't have any issues. I think they've answered my questions, and I think that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, do you have an answer for his question about what type of fence is being built?
Yeah, we can actually put the board on board. That's not an issue.
The fence will be board on board?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's a nice answer for him.
May I ask another question of him?
Okay.
I need some help remembering the lighting. The hours are from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
Yes.
What type of lighting is going to be for the later hours?
We haven't gotten to that point, but eventually it'll be all shielded lighting anyway, just for the courts. I mean, typical of what we would expect of any other development to prevent light spillage.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
I have the same question as staff. In that type of situation, like a tennis court or a pickleball court, is there a city limitation on lighting?
There is, and we are not at we're not to civil review. They haven't submitted any full civil plans for this project as of yet, but we do review all of that, and we do have requirements for the lighting. Regarding the screen on this southern boundary, I also want to mention that along with the board-on-board fence, the applicant is also planting shrubs along that entire boundary. So the shrubs plus the fence will provide additional remediation for any sound concerns.
And just we do actually have maximum lighting levels as well as those spillover lighting levels that we mentioned earlier. So the maximum is 20-foot candles for pretty much all things. So there is some limitations on the light spillover, as well as maximum lighting, as well as, I believe, maximum height of poles. So that would all be reviewed with the engineering site plan. I did also just want to state that I think that the way that the exhibit is prepared right now, it simply says wood fence. So if the board on board is important, I would make it a condition of your motion.
With the lighting, is there any limitation during the timing of the day? So after 11 p.m., it needs to be shut off, or?
No, there's no limitation on the timing.
Any other questions? Comments, questions before I close? Anyone else wishing to speak? Then I will close the public hearing. Commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
Recommend approval of the special use permit.
Second.
Motion by Aaron. Second by Francesca. You may vote now. Motion carries 5-0. We did not make it conditional.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council with a second public hearing and a final decision on Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Announcements, Michelle?
No announcements.
Be safe going home.
Yes.
In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
From Francesca,
Second by Joshua.
second by Joshua. Vote now. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.